I would like to welcome Gary Dixon to Emran's podcast. Gary has been to Emran's podcast a while back. We talked about his running journey and many things. As we are all headed to London to pace, I thought bringing Gary back. He has great experience running London. He'll be running 18th London and as a runner and 8th as a pacer. So Gary has many running experience. He and I, we run Chicago, London. Now we ran Rome. We know each other for a very long time. So I would like to welcome Gary. Gary, welcome to Emran's podcast.
Good morning, Suman. Hope you're well. Thanks for the introduction. Yeah, it's a busy time in our little world of pacing marathons, and as you say, we're both privileged enough to pace some really great events, and we've got London coming up a week on Sunday.
Definitely, and as a pace coordinator, you have a big event for you. You will be coordinating Manchester this coming weekend. Talk about that a little.
Yeah, Manchester is the second largest marathon in the UK, about 28,000 runners. I inherited or got involved with picking up the pace team about 3 years ago. I do it on a voluntary basis, which is great, because what it enables me to do is to reach out to not just runners that I know that are good marathon runners, but they're good people, so they're going to make good pacers. So this weekend we have a team, relatively small team, of 26 pacers, ranging from 2 hours 45 through to 6 hours. And again, some of the guys who are pacing this Sunday will be pacing London as well the week after. So yeah, I'm really fortunate in that respect. I've got a really, strong database of people to actually call upon. And as a coordinator, the main thing is that reliability. What you don't want is people, picking and choosing and stuff like that. And we have a really good team going to Manchester this Sunday.
Definitely. As a pace coordinator myself, I'll tell you, one of the biggest things for me is like a last minute drop. So it's just adds so much stress for us. So I hope you have your team ready to go. Sounds like it. Yeah. Sounds like they are.
Yeah, really good. And we had a couple of last minute ones this week. One at 3 hours and one at 3 hours 30. And, luckily, you call upon the database, and getting people to put the hand up at really short notice is a real relief above all else. And it's really great that people actually want to actually give back, because, people at the sharp end, they use the term racing, which, when you get further, deeper into the field and whatever kind of thing, a lot of us, are just about, certainly I am anyway, about actually enjoyment and all that kind of stuff and whatever. So when you get people who are capable of doing, sub 2:40 marathons, putting their hand up and saying, yeah, I'll pace 3 hours, yeah, I'll pace 3:30, I think it's fantastic, really do. Because they're going out of their comfort zone, because they normally, are out on the course for a lot shorter time, but also they're not used to thinking about anything other than themselves. So yeah, really good crew to have supporting me this coming Sunday.
Excellent. Good luck with all the things that are about to happen for you. It's always fun once all the racer and pacer goes. As a pace coordinator, it makes me feel happy. So
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. Our main topic today, I brought you in here, is really talking about London Marathon. This will be my third London. I'm going back, pacing 4:45. Fortunately enough, we will be in the same group. We may not be pacing together, but definitely the same group. We've been trying to get to the same group for a very long time, but definitely we'll have the same start, same wave. So let's talk about the London Marathon as an experienced runner. London runner, as new people are coming in to running London Marathon. I would like you to kind of give some ups and downs and, peaks and valleys of London Marathon, and kind of let's talk about that a little, so that our listener, our friends or family, as they headed to London, they can see what they can expect as they get to London. Let's talk about weather. I think London weather has been, for me so far, it's been rainy some part, a little bit hot last year. I forget, it's chilly sometimes. So what's the weather outlook for us this year.
The weather outlook this year, it looks as though it's going to be about 20 to 22 degrees, so it's going to be on the warm side again. Looks as though it's going to be dry, which is great. And the good thing about it being warm as well, from if you like a selfish perspective, is that basically, you know, when it's wet and your feet get wet and there aren't as many crowds on the street and whatever, it just makes it more difficult. London's crowds and spectators are just absolutely amazing. So because the weather's going to be warm, you know, what the new runners will actually experience is crowds like nothing they've ever experienced before, in my opinion, because there's very, very little of the course that you won't actually have spectators. The other thing about the warmer temperatures and that as well is that the longer you get into the race, the more joyous and happy some of the spectators actually become, because basically their hydration has been on the go for a few hours, and it definitely makes for a great party atmosphere as you actually go through the streets. So weather's going to be warm, and I'm looking forward to that side of it as well.
Definitely. London always brings a lot of crowd, you know, over the last 2 times I ran, and that's kind of how I fall in love with running London Marathon or pacing London Marathon. Let's talk about Expo. Expo is London has a great Expo. I've been there a couple of times now. Let's talk about a little bit of Expo. What kind of venue it is, and what should people expect?
Okay, so it's on the outskirts of London. And basically, it's at the XL Arena. And what people should actually expect. So firstly, when you actually walk through the doors of the Expo to go and get your number, the London Marathon theme music just catches you, and particularly if you're British, because the reason why I say that is that on TV, the actual theme tune and everything, it just plays on repeat. So that's the first thing that gets you, if you like, you know, your hair standing on end. You obviously go to registration, you get your number, and then the Expo is typically the same as many big city marathons. You'll have a lot of different stands. London's sponsored by New Balance, so you'll go through a New Balance area, so that if people want to buy London Marathon 2023 kit, it's actually there for people to actually, you know, get their kit in advance, and hopefully, from my viewpoint, not wear it until they've actually earned it. And then more recently, within the London Marathon Expo, they've actually introduced a booth for pacers like yourself and myself to actually go to on a voluntary basis. So we'll do our small shift there, where runners can come to us, you know, ask for advice in terms of what our pacing strategy is going to be, in terms of, you know, what we actually advise and recommend, and so on and so forth. And in addition, this year, you know, the other change that's actually coming in is that there's going to be pace bands for runners to actually pick up. So that, again, if they have a target time, they'll be able to pick up a pace band, which actually tells them what their splits, you know, need to actually be, and things like that. And then, if you like, the final part of the Expo is that you have some experts there who will actually do talks about whether it's nutrition, whether it's about pacing, whether it's about, you know, the course and what to expect on the day. So, as I say, it's typical of many, if you like, big city expos. But as I say, it is on the outskirts of London. It's not in downtown London.
Definitely. I mean, for me, it feels like downtown, but it is, and it's easily accessible by train. So that's one thing. So one of the things that I always get confused with, there's a tap in, tap out when you come in a train. Yeah, those of you come to London, make sure you tap out of your train card or whatever you use. So
that's good advice. What Suman's talking about there is whether it's on the underground or whether it's on Docklands Light Railway, which you actually get to the Expo, or whether indeed it's on a London bus, you tap onto the bus or train, and then when you come off, you tap off it, and basically whatever they're going to charge you gets, you know, calculated at the end of the day. But if you don't tap out, it's more expensive than it would be if you actually recorded your journeys properly.
Definitely. One of the thing when I was in London in October, one thing I noticed that my credit card. I don't have to buy any more ticket. I just was using the ticket with the tap in, tap out. I'm using credit card to get in and out. I didn't know that information, so now I don't spend time in a ticket booth and try to figure out what I need. And one thing, like what Gary just said, it's really calculated. Depending, there's a day fee, and then depending on how far you go, and then you will get charged accordingly. So that's one thing for sure. Gary, one thing you mentioned about this theme music, I've never heard the music, so I guess I have to listen to London Marathon theme music. So
I'll play it for you at the start of the marathon soon. You'll hear it from a speaker.
Definitely, I'll look it up too. So I didn't know that existed, or I may have heard of it, but didn't really realize it's there. So definitely that's new for me, and I will have to explore that. And of course, that the center stage that you talked about, there's a lot of experts out there. Definitely, it will be good to listen in. So that's Expo. Let's talk about traveling to the race. I know that race morning last year was a little challenging for me because I was going by myself. My first year, I had a whole bunch of people that took me to start line. Last year, I had a little challenge, but as soon as I got to train station, I found people just follow them along. So one thing also is the ticket is free so if you don't have to pay to go to the start. Some people complain that they had to pay, but I think you don't have to pay. Can we?
No,
talk?
you don't. But you have, as long as you show your bib before the race and after the race, then you can travel free on public transport. I think it's up till about 5 o'clock at night on the Sunday. But yeah, no, you show people your bib number and they just wave you through.
Yeah, if you have any problem there, make sure that talk to the ticket master or however that works on the train.
Yeah,
so
it's easy enough.
Yeah, let's talk about the getting to start. It's a little off, a little far. Nothing like Chicago. Start and finish is pretty close to each other. Let's talk about that. To getting to start.
So the big difference with London and other big city marathons is it has 3 different start places. So the mass start is the blue start in Greenwich, and the second largest start is the red start, which is a little bit further over. And then if you like the VIPs, the celebs, and people like that, they go from the green start. All very walkable once you get off the train, either at Blackheath or Greenwich or whatever. And basically, as long as you know what colour wave you're actually going from, it's relatively simple. But I think now, since COVID, the way in which London actually works is far, far better. Because in the past, what used to happen is that irrespective of what wave you're actually in, you all had to be in the start corrals from about 9:30. So if you were in wave 9 or wave 10 towards the back, you would be standing in your wave for about an hour and a half. So at least now the way it works is that you get called forward to your wave about 15 minutes before you're due to go off. Then you'll walk forward a bit, and then basically the longest period you're going to be standing about in that wave position and whatever is about 15 minutes, which is fantastic compared to what's actually happened previously, and indeed what actually happens. Use Chicago as the example. Chicago were in the waves far, far earlier than 15 minutes before we actually set off. And basically the way it actually works is so that if you use the 2 busier waves, red and blue, is that they'll all merge, as will green, at about mile 3. So basically you've got, when it's busiest, at the start and so on and so forth, while people are actually finding their pace, it's different courses for the different starts you're actually at. But from mile 3, all 3 different starts all come together.
Definitely. One of the things I don't understand, that I think there's a couple of things, so let's talk about that. Yeah. One of the things I was always having a hard time to understand why there's so many different start colors. I understand because the street size, or why it's like that in London.
Yeah, because basically, you're going from blue start on a week on Sunday, and if you try to get 50,000 runners funneled through, if you like, the streets and whatever at the start, you really would, your waves would probably be an hour longer in terms of starting time than they are now. So basically, what it actually does in having the 3 different starts, it allows as I said before, the runners to actually find their pace and whatever. And when they come together at mile 3, the roads are a little bit wider there, and it just gets away from that congestion that you would have with an event of like 50,000 people. You use New York as an example. New York, they have different starts because you have the upper bridge and the lower bridge and whatever. Because again, they'd have exactly the same problem. They tried to get everyone over the top bridge. Chicago's a little bit wider at the start, so that's why London actually do it. It's to avoid that early congestion and that's when people are a bit more fraught. They're trying to find their way, and the last thing you want is people to be getting anxious because they can't actually get running because they're in a crowd. That's why they do it.
Got you. And one question there is so like you and I, we starting 4:45 pace group, I think wave 14. So, 4:45 in like a red, we're in blue. Will they start at the same time?
Yes, they will.
Okay. So,
yes, they will.
So when
but it might be a different wave number because there's fewer numbers there. So they might start at the same time, but they'll be called wave 11 or something like that. So the wave numbers might be the same, but the correlation of the times and whatever is actually there, so that groups actually come together.
Got you. So yeah. I think last year when I was pacing, we saw a flag really far away, and we didn't know what it was, and ahead of us, and we finally, when we caught up, they were a 7-hour pacer. So it's just like okay, and then they started a different wave.
Yeah, and that's what's happening now with some big city marathons, is that some of the slower runners are actually being started off earlier, so that what you don't actually have is this. All big events will actually have a road or a course closure cut-off time. So in allowing, some of the slower runners to actually start earlier, whether it's 7 hours or whatever it happens to be, then in effect it's taken away a little bit of that anxiety. But also, as you know, from a pacing viewpoint, our protocols are such that we actually advise the group that are actually with us that we're going to pull out to the right, and we're actually going to overtake on the right hand side. So there's no concerns again from the slower runners that they're basically going to be mowed down by this faster group coming through. And it works really well. We're doing the same in Manchester. The 5:30 and 6 hour paces are actually, and 5:15 indeed, are actually going off before the 4:45 and 5 hour paces.
Got you. And I saw that kind of really worked, how that worked at Rome. So the way, I think you and I are in the same pace group, but you started 10 minutes behind or something. So in a different wave. And also 4 hour pacer passed us. So things like that. I saw 4 hours, 4:30 and so on. One other thing here at Little Rock, they have 8 hour group, I think, and they start at 6 a.m. So it's like 2 hours before we do. By the time I catch up, they're like mile 13 or something like that. So,
which is good. It just calms the concerns of those people who think that they're going to be in people's way and stuff like that. They're not. They've got every right to be on the course, the same as the 2.5 hour guys. And you say it's just all about protocol. It's all about respecting the other runners and whatever. And it works well.
Definitely. So that's our start. One other thing I noticed, because of all this wave, the bathroom lines are very short. As you wait. I mean, last year I was pacing 6.5 hours. There was literally nobody. So usually bathroom lines is one of the biggest concerns, especially for me. It's like I had to pit stop too many times before I start. So the anxiety and nervousness, I don't know. After 150 marathons, I'm still, dealing with those kind of things. So, but definitely,
we're both men of a certain age as well. So, we can't fight it. We're gonna go.
Yeah, definitely. One other thing just want to mention here is, from my experience, is getting inside the Runnersville. It's pretty nice. Get there early. You can see all kind of people dressed up. You'll find them on the course, but definitely they will be there taking pictures and meeting and greeting. It's pretty nice environment. It's an open field kind of thing. So and so it's a pretty nice. I really enjoyed being there.
Yeah, and I think the thing about London, which is again different than pacing events in America, is the fact that we actually have the backpacks and flags were highly visible, where obviously in the States we have to carry the flag and not so visible. And so people will see you with a backpack and a flag and they'll want to talk to you about, what your strategy is going to be, or, where do they find certain things and so on and so forth. So it really is. It's really rewarding because in a nice possible way, it's all that nervous energy, and what they want to do is just talk to people. And I agree with it. That start pen atmosphere at London is very, very unique.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I had that experience last year. I had a gentleman who was very nervous, looked very nervous, and he came to talk to me before the race, and we chatted for a while, and came through the race, and I looked at him every so many miles, and he was like doing excellent. And I lost him, and then he found me in Facebook and messaged me. It's like, hey, I've finished. So anyway, it's because all the trying to calm the nerve. It's really good when you get to that villas and enjoy. I think there's some foods and people, and there's things out there in that runner villa. It's a little different if you don't have that experience. It's good to be there. Try to get there a little early so you can enjoy it. So that's that. That's kind of starting. Let's go through the race. Like I said, pre-interview, I think when I paced first time, I missed so many different things in London Marathon. London course provides. So let's go through the course, kind of give us some highlight words. What should we look for, which miles, and so on. I know we got that.
Okay.
Let's talk through that.
So as I said, everyone comes together around mile 3. The first big highlight around mile 6 is Cutty Sark, which is it's a fantastic site. You obviously go all the way around it. The crowds are so deep there, and yeah, it's a good place for it's a good landmark. People are basically 10K into their warm up, because I always talk to people about a 20-mile warm up and a 10K jog, but. The crowds are immense there, and then obviously as you go around Cutty Sark, and then literally once you turn right after you've gone past it and whatever, again, the crowds really do start closing in there, and so that's where by then you've definitely got to have found, if you like, your rhythm and your natural pace, and whether you're running on the left or you're running on the right hand side of the road.
Hold on, before you go too far. Yeah. Talk about what Cutty Sark is. I didn't realize there was a big war sip kind of thing. When I ran it, like you said, that area is a little narrow and you have to make a turn. Talk about that. What is that?
Well, I was lucky enough to actually get invited to a dinner there about 2-3 months ago. Because again, the only time I've ever seen Cutty Sark is when I've actually run around it. And basically, the Cutty Sark is, in effect, it's a museum. It was a British what they call clipper ship, which was basically used to transport tea way back when, long before you and I were around. And obviously, when it finished its working life, for want of better words. It was basically put in that part of London near Greenwich and whatever. And as I say, now you can actually buy tickets to actually go around it. It's really, really interesting. But yeah, historically, when it was first set up, that's exactly what it was. It was about the transported tea.
Definitely. I was just wondering about that. Always wondered what it is. And people always make a big deal out of Cutty Sark. I guess one of the biggest thing for us as a runner is a 10K mark. Like you said, the first warm up. Every 5K I do kind of check. So anyway, but that's pretty good. Let's keep going.
Okay, so relatively speaking, the next 5-6 miles are just running through the streets of London, and then around mile 12 and a half, to me, it's the best part of the course, because then you actually come over Tower Bridge. And the thing about Tower Bridge is that, forget the fact that you've got the Tower of London and so on and so forth and whatever, is as you're actually coming across it, what you'll actually experience is you're looking ahead in terms of what you can actually see in terms of the runners actually doing. But then sometimes I actually take the opportunity to run backwards and actually take photos of the group and whatever, because you actually capture Tower Bridge and whatever in photos and stuff like that. It is absolutely fantastic. And as I say, what I will then do with my group is that I'll leave them, I'll run ahead 40, 50 yards, and then I'll try and capture it on video as well, so that, again, the group actually have some memories being created of a really iconic part of the course. Because once you come across Tower Bridge and you turn right, there's a couple of things. Firstly, what you actually see on the left-hand side of the road are people who are at mile 23. So basically, you see people who are, the best part of 10 miles ahead of you, which can be a little bit soul-destroying for people. And so when you actually make that right turn, you've got to try and focus people on, what they've actually achieved. They're coming up to the halfway mark, and the positives around what they've actually done, as opposed to, looking over to your left and seeing people, who are almost there, So that's just before halfway.
Before we move on from Tower Bridge, a couple of things I have seen people, family actually can go up. I think you go up and look down. I have seen some of the pictures and videos. I don't know if it's open. I heard that it's open. It's pretty good view. I have seen some pictures, some professional pictures. I don't know if we're allowed to go. That's one thing. The crowd is just incredible in that area too. Like Cutty-Sars. It's like that's. I used to think that there was a halfway point, and last year I realized it's like you got to go a little further down.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah. So definitely that area, like you said, it's one of the most incredible thing you pass before. It
is, and then from then to about mile 18, 19, to me, you've got a lot of it's the streets of London, lots of crowds out there supporting you and so on and so forth, but nothing of any note to actually take in. And then around mile 18, 19, you come through the financial district at Canary Wharf. And again, the crowds are just absolutely incredible. Selfishly, from my viewpoint, because if it is a warm day and I can, what's the word? I can catch the attention of somebody that might have a cold beer, I'll actually take the opportunity just past the aid station in Canary Wharf to try and see if I can maybe get a mouthful or two of cold beer, because it's good carbs and it's very refreshing, and it selfishly, I really enjoyed that part of the course.
Definitely, it's one of the things they say, like I guess it's a South London. Is that the area?
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah.
It feels like. Sometime I remember first year I was pacing, he was like, South London is boring and stuff, and there's somebody from South London like, no. So it's fun, it's a part of the course. Like I said, part of looking at a different part of London that we as a visitor we never go. So,
but I think the big thing about any major city, any marathon course, you're going to get iconic parts that people remember and so on and so forth, and you're going to get parts which, in the nice possible way, you're grinding out the miles. You as a pacer, you're actually encouraging people, make sure you've still got all your runners with you and so on. But yeah, it's so Canary Wharf I think is great. And then I suppose really the next landmark is around mile 21. You then actually come onto the switchback where you see people on the other side of the road. So we see people at 4:45. We see people on the other side of the road who are, towards, if you like, the back end of the field. And it's really, really nice to be able to, congratulate and to be able to encourage those people, just to keep going and whatever, because you know what? Whatever time it actually takes, you get the same medal, the same T-shirt, the same sense of achievement. And so typically speaking there, I'll run on the left-hand side of the road so I can actually make sure that we acknowledge those people. And because having been going the other way, a couple of hours before, how they're actually feeling when they see people on the other side of the road. At mile 23, along that stretch, you then come straight ahead, you see the Tower of London. So if you look to your left, you'll see Tower Bridge, but straight ahead of you, you'll actually see the Tower of London, which basically means you've got 5K to go. So that's the next landmark. After mile 23, we have about a mile or so, maybe 3/4 of a mile, where we even go, if you like, through an underpass, and then you basically you come to the part of the course where it's just beauty all the way, because you come onto London Embankment, and so you can see the Big Eye in the distance. You can see Big Ben, and basically, there you've got 2.2 miles to go, and as you Americans would say, or Simon and Garfunkel would say, you're homeward bound.
Definitely. Those areas are, like, for me, is a favorite part. Once I come across and, start running that area, I was like, oh, wow, mm-hmm. Yeah. I got some good photo from those areas from last year. But definitely, you make a few turns and then, running in front of the park in Buckingham Palace.
You'll actually be right in front of Big Ben with probably about 3/4 of a mile to go. And again, even though I'm pacing, what I do tend to do is that I will take photos of the group. I will, as we're actually running along and whatever, I'll try and send them out on Facebook and whatever, so that these, I capture the memories, and then people can find them, because after the race, depending upon whether they've dropped back or they've run ahead and whatever, you might actually capture them. And when you've got landmarks like that in the background, it really is. It's great to be able to if you like, run the event, but to be privileged enough to actually pace it, and other people to actually trust you is incredible. And as you say, we turn right at Big Ben, and then probably 400 or 500 meters later, we actually see Buckingham Palace on the left hand side, which again is just amazing. And funny story. Probably about 15 years or so ago, I actually ran the London Marathon with a friend of mine in full cricket kit. And I know as an American you don't understand what cricket kit is, but basically it means you've got pads on your legs, you've got a cricket bat, you've got gloves. And because England, it was 2005 actually, so because England had just beaten Australia in the Ashes, we were even carrying a 3-foot urn, which is the trophy they actually play for. Mm-hmm. And so we actually got to Buckingham Palace and the Mall, and they played the Test match special theme tune for cricket that the BBC normally play. Mm. And so my friend and I, basically, because we both had our bats, I had a couple of tennis balls in my backpack, mm-hmm. And so I tossed in one, and he smashed it into the crowd, and he tossed and smashed it into the crowd. So that's the kind of thing that London actually brings. The fact that it took us quite a long time to actually do it, and we were doing it in ridiculous kit and whatever, we were still accepted as part of the race. And as you say, Buckingham Palace is so iconic, and then you've got 200 yards to go down the Mall. And there you are at the finish. And in your case and my case, hopefully in something like 4 hours, 44 minutes and 30 seconds, give or take 10 seconds.
Give or take, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be amazing. This will be the first time I'm pacing that fast in London, so looking forward.
I think the other thing that people should actually look forward to as well is that when you get to the finish, you get your medal and so on and so forth, and you go and get your bag to get your clothes changed and things like that. That there's meet and greet for where your families are and so on and so forth. But again, it's right in the heart of Westminster, so you're surrounded by, beautiful buildings, iconic places. You come out and you might see Trafalgar Square or whatever. So you really do finish in the heart of London. So again, very, very different than for example, New York. You finish in Central Park. In Chicago, you finish in Grand Park and whatever. There, you actually finish right in amongst some of the most iconic places in London.
Definitely, and if you're early enough, you can take a train home. But I always for free. But I encourage people, like you said, stick around and enjoy your day. So
take in the atmosphere, because you know what, you've earned it, and that's the big thing is that people, at the end, some people are broken, they're in bits, some people are high as anything because of what they've actually achieved, and just stay there, sit on the steps, do whatever, soak in the atmosphere.
Definitely.
And the beauty of it is that then when you finish and you actually emerge, and even if you're on your own and you go in on a tube or you go in whatever, you've got that medal on. Anyone and everyone will congratulate you because, you know, the whole city knows it's London Marathon Day, and it's really good.
Yeah, definitely. London comes out. That's for sure. Many races I've done over the years, you know, so London is one of those races that's just everybody's out there. They know, like you said, that we're out there running London Marathon. So definitely. So over the years, you have done, like I say, 18. So give us a goods and bads.
Goods and bads. Well, I say one year I ran it as a cricketer. Another year I ran it as Mr. Incredible, which was really, really good because at the end, it's the only time I've ever been interviewed by the BBC. And so I was on TV on the highlights programme, and my mum actually burnt a shirt because it was like, there's our Gary, and left the iron on the shirt. So that was quite amusing. I've done it in years where the rain has been biblical, which hasn't been much fun. I've done it obviously about 3-4 years ago when it was really, really hot. And, you know, as a pace team, you know, a number of the pacers actually struggled to keep their time. And I was fortunate enough because I knew where friends were on the course and whatever. If one of the guys who's actually pacing 5:30 on Sunday, Dave Goodwin, had he not have been there, because you see him at halfway, you see him on the left-hand side, and then I phoned him and said, Dave, do me a favour, get me a cold bottle of Coke or something sugary at mile 23. You know, I might have been one of the pacers that didn't make my time. So there's lots of different memories from London, but I think the main memory is that whether you're running or whether you're pacing, it's still 26 and a bit miles, because it's not 26.2. You'll end up doing probably about 26 and a half. And irrespective of how many marathons you've done or I've done or anybody's done, it's still hard. And I think that the runners around us think that because we've done a few marathons and we're pacing, so it must be easy for us. It's not easy, but they would never know what we're actually thinking or feeling, because if you like, what I refer to as the pacer's mask will never reveal if we're having a little struggle, or, you know, we could do with getting something to eat or drink or whatever kind of thing, because, you know, we're there to actually support them and not give them any concerns that, you know, that we might be, you know, we might be struggling and stuff like that. And I think the big thing for me is that at the end of the race, if one runner comes up to you and gives you a hug or gives you a high five or whatever and just says thank you, then everything's been worthwhile. And it's normally more than one. There are normally several people that come up and actually do it. You know, particularly yourself and myself, we're playing music, so we're actually doing stuff to actually take runners' mind off what they're actually doing in terms of running that distance. Typically speaking, they will recognise us more easily because of the noise we've made and whatever on the way round. But yeah, those just simple thanks and whatever at the end, just to know that you've actually helped one runner, let alone, you know, a few. It just makes it all worthwhile. And it is I say, you know, pacing is an absolute privilege, and it's not something any of us should take for granted.
Definitely. We both have a pacer's heart, and not only runner, the pacer's heart, a little different from running racing. One of the biggest thing for me is when not only people thanking me at the finish, but actually finding me afterward, because I'm out there in social media, and like I said, this gentleman found me, you know, my personal message. He sent me personal messages. I was so touched. And it was like, wow, yeah, I did it, something good here. So, you know, definitely. One of the things that since you mentioned about maybe this year we may have a hot weather, regardless, make sure that hydrate for all the runners. Make sure you hydrate. That's a basic thing. So for hydration wise, I think London provides bottled water or bottle of drinks. I don't know how that works this year.
Last year it was bottled water, and it was cupped drinks of Lucozade. But again, we're fortunate at the pace that we we are actually pacing out to them, and we'll actually tell people every aid station will take a 5 to 10 second walk so that people can actually make sure they get a proper drink and they're not worried about time. We'll factor that into our pacing strategy, because otherwise, if they've got to run through aid stations and whatever, they won't hydrate properly, and 15, 20 miles in, it could cost them. So I think that's important as well.
Definitely. That's what I will start from the beginning, depending on the weather. Like you said, if it's hot weather, like what you mentioned, and we start really early, so and slow it down, and and we can factor in. You and I can run 4:45, any day, but we're there to get folks to finish line. One of the things you mentioned about bringing the entertainment, you and I, we bring in entertainment. We looked at each other's playlist in the Spotify. A lot of similar music, but definitely every race I go, I start building my music depending on what race. And sometimes it's hard for me, but especially Rome was hard. But the few music I put, people loved it, and some of the experiment I was doing, people loved I put Italian music, So wherever you are, that's what music you bring in. That's the base.
Absolutely, because even in Rome, we had a party, and we really, really did, and we really enjoyed it, and we tried to put different music on for different age groups and whatever. Some of the English cheesy stuff doesn't necessarily translate over there. We'll be doing this. I'll be doing the same this weekend in Manchester, and certainly the same in London.
Yeah. So one of the things for me is what didn't translate. I thought it'll translate is the Latin music, did not translate in Europe, especially in Rome. So it's a good tune, but didn't work well.
How do you think I feel when I come to the States and I have to put a lot of your, American stuff on, Sweet Home Chicago and things like that? And I'm like, I don't even know the words, so I can't sing along to it. So I'm totally lost.
Yeah, usually for me, so we're a little off the topic, but usually for me is whenever I do this kind of music, I listen, I start building the playlist, and throughout my weeks and so off running, I listen to the music over and over, try to say, can I relate to running? So it doesn't matter. So, but definitely I started with all the British music, British artists, and the first part of London Marathon playlist. So some of you will be following me. Yeah. So definitely.
When we finish, I've got the London Marathon theme tune music here, if you want it.
Definitely. So let's play it. Play that.
Do you want to play it now?
And Gary's going to play London Marathon theme music.
There you go.
That's nice. So when do they play at the? I know you talked about Expo. Is it played during the race start?
It's played at the Expo, and also what you'll actually find is that it's actually played at the start.
Yeah. Okay. Like in New York, they play New York. So
yeah.
See, I didn't know this. So definitely, this is a new thing. I need to catch it. I need to find that music as well. I'll play a little bit as we leave the suit. Gary, I know we talked a lot about London pacing, London Marathon. It's an exciting time of the year. Boston is happening this Monday. London is Sunday. We're finally. It took a few years. Finally, everybody's in a schedule. It has been really great talking to you. Before we close this interview, talk to us about how London Marathon pacing has changed. London Marathon has changed over the years. You've been part of London Marathon, and tell us about that.
Yeah, historically, Runners World used to organise the pace teams for the London Marathon, and typically speaking, there it was people who run marathons who knew people within Runners World. I got into it because I paced the Yorkshire Marathon, and Runners World were organising the paces there, and as long as you did your time, you would get invited back the following year. And it was a relatively small team, 30 to 40 pacers. So the opportunities weren't there to add overseas pacers like yourselves to actually add first-time pacers, and so on and so forth. And I think London Marathon events have taken it onto a new level in terms of what they did last year in opening it out to I think we had about 70 or 80 pacers last year, some first-time pacers, some people running in London for the first time. So giving opportunities to people who historically would never have been able to get into it because they didn't know anyone, if you like, within the network, whether it be Runners World or the London Marathon. This year, the team is 132 strong, and again, over 60 of those runners have not run London before, which again is going to be a great experience for them. But also, some of them will be running with experienced pacers, so that they don't have to worry about that themselves. But in the main, the opportunity and the diversity now that the team actually brings is absolutely fantastic. I look back at last year, and I ran in a 3. One lady was a UK-based pacer, Mandy, done it before, really, really good. But Raquel, a Mexican lady living in Norway, never run London before, very experienced pacer, and it worked really, really well. We came in on time, and we all contributed, and I think that's the important thing is that people are now being given opportunities. It's an application process, so it's very transparent as to how you actually get in, as opposed to, say, historically, if you did your time, you'd probably get in, and the team didn't change as much as it clearly does now. So I think it's really, really, really good that we see new faces pacing, and new faces pacing means new friends, and that's what running actually is all about. Just making new friends every time you go for a run.
Definitely, and looking forward to meeting 2023 pacing team and all the runners that will come along with us in this year. So thanks for your time. I know we got to go. It has been a pleasure. We'll see each other in a week time, and looking forward.
Yeah, I'll see you a week today, Friday. I'll have a cold beer with you. Okay, Simon.
Thank you. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks for inviting me on. Cheers, pal.
Bye.